The ceasefire promised hope, a glimmer of light in the darkness of war. It promised the return of loved ones, sons and daughters, mothers and fathers. But on February 20th, 2025, hope turned to ash. The world watched as 4 bodies were returned, not the living hostages Israel had been promised. Among those bodies were Ariel and Shiri Bibas, 2 young boys, ripped away from their lives, from their future. Their names, forever etched in the collective memory of a nation scarred by conflict. But their mother, Shiri, was not among the returned. Her absence hung heavy in the air, a chilling reminder of the fragility of peace. The ceasefire, brokered after months of brutal fighting, had been broken before it truly began. The world held its breath, waiting, praying for Shiri's safe return. But deep down, a chilling fear began to spread. A fear that whispered of unimaginable loss, of a mother separated from her sons, even in death. Across Israel, the news of the Bibas boys' deaths sent shockwaves of grief and anger. Flags flew at half-mast, a nation united in mourning. The image of Ariel and Kafir, their faces frozen in time, became a searing indictment of the human cost of this endless conflict. Yarden Bibas, the boy's father, had already endured an unimaginable ordeal. Released earlier in the month as part of the ceasefire agreement, he had clung to the hope of holding his sons again. Now, he found himself facing a parent's worst nightmare, burying his children while the fate of his wife remained unknown. His grief, raw and palpable, resonated throughout the nation. It became a shared sorrow, a reminder of the countless families torn apart by the violence. The Bibas family, once anonymous, became a tragic symbol of a conflict that seemed to have no end. And as the nation mourned, the government's response was swift and unyielding. This was not just a breach of trust, but a violation of the very core of humanity. Israel's condemnation was immediate and resolute. Prime Minister Netanyahu denounced Hamas, labeling their actions a despicable act of treachery. International condemnation quickly followed, with the US and the EU expressing outrage at the broken ceasefire. But words rang hollow in the face of such loss. The fragile peace, already strained, shattered completely. The Israeli Defense Forces launched retaliatory airstrikes on Gaza, targeting Hamas installations. The West Bank, already a tinderbox of tension, erupted. Explosions rocked buses in Bat Yam, a stark reminder of the reach of this conflict. The IDF responded with force, intensifying its crackdown in the West Bank. Raids increased, leading to clashes with Palestinian protesters. The cycle of violence, a relentless spiral, threatened to consume everything in its path. Fear and mistrust poisoned the air, pushing any hope of a lasting peace further into the distance. The conflict once again dominated headlines, a grim reminder of the human cost of intractable differences. The Israeli-Palestinian conflict is a tapestry woven from generations of pain, displacement, and mistrust. It is a conflict with no easy answers, where every act of violence only deepens the wounds of the past. Each ceasefire, a fleeting glimmer of hope, ultimately crumbles under the weight of history. The story of Shiri Bibas and her sons is but one thread in this tragic tapestry. It is a story that lays bare the human cost of this intractable conflict, a conflict where mothers bury their sons, and wives are left wondering about the fate of their husbands. As the search for Shiri continues, her absence serves as a stark reminder, a reminder of the millions who have been affected by this conflict. Of the families torn apart, the lives lost, and the futures left uncertain. The world watches, waiting, hoping that somehow, amidst the rubble of broken promises and shattered ceasefires, a flicker of humanity might yet emerge, a flicker that might lead the way out of this endless cycle of violence.